happen going forward? The question becomes now, not only does this investigation continue to move forward, but how does this committee actually continue to operate, Anderson?
Phil Mattingly, thanks very much. Back now with the panel. Kirsten, I mean, if for the American people who are watching this, and, you know, if for those who care about the possibility of, well, the fact of Russia's meddling in the election and want a bipartisan fact-finding commission, they want to get to the bottom of this, should this House committee continue?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons to be concerned. I mean, just listening to all the different things that have been laid out, I think it just raises some questions about whether Congressman Nunes can move forward in a way that I think makes people feel that he can be unbiased. I mean, if he has these conflicts, and I think even absent what Phil Mattingly was just talking about, I think the fact that he has already sort of raised these questions about how he got this information, did he possibly get it through the White House, did he possibly do this to help Donald Trump? He has said in an interview that, you know, Donald Trump was getting a lot of heat in the media. It just raises a lot of questions about whether this is a person that's really an unbiased arbiter overseeing an investigation.
And it would seem, I mean, that both sides would want whatever investigations are done to be as transparent as possible, and also to be credible, so that whatever the resolution is, people will actually believe it.
Of course. And this is the time you say, thank goodness there is the Senate as well as the House, because the House committee basically collapsed. And I think what we saw Schiff do very deftly, just in his interview with Phil, is to call Nunes's bluff. And he said, okay, you're interested in investigating all this incidental collection, which unmasked people you shouldn't have unmasked. Well, that was on the transition team. And by the way, you were a member of that transition team. So you can't do it because you're conflicted out of that. So, you know, he sort of said to him, well, you just dug your own grave here.
Is that an inherent conflict?
Schiff's no dummy. I mean, this guy was a very smart prosecutor. It sounds like a conflict to me. It just sounds like everything Nunes has done in the last week has, I don't know if this was his plan, but has essentially blown up this committee's investigation. As you pointed out, Anderson, they were supposed to have a big public hearing tomorrow with Sally Yates.
Sally Yates, Clapper.
Yeah, and that's done. And then they said, okay, well, instead of that, we wanted this private hearing because we wanted to bring Comey and Rogers back in. Now, that's apparently not happening. There's nothing left for them.
I think Schiff's not exactly Switzerland in this process. I mean, you look at his blind allegiance to Loretta Lynch last year. You look at his support for Hillary Clinton. It's not that he's this truly neutral arbiter in the entire situation.
Well, which also then raises the question, I mean, again, is this, I mean, we saw the divide in the first hearing when all the questions, most of the questions from Republicans were about leaks, most of the questions from Democrats were trying to paint a picture of collusion. So is this really bipartisan? Is this really a fair commission?
I think this is the way it plays out. Have Republicans and Democrats both up there and have their opportunity. But again, I still think the fact that we're getting much more into the intrigue and the process to it. In fact, you saw Ranking Member Schiff say that the supposed dead of the night.
Right, but if Republicans already think Schiff isn't legit or isn't, that Schiff clearly is not neutral, Democrats clearly think Republicans aren't.
Well, I say, look ye not to the House to straighten this out.
Are you talking Old English?
Because I do think this is extremely partisan at this point, and the intrigue is taking over because there's intrigue, and the Trump surrounding circles tend to create intrigue. So the Senate and the FBI seem to have healthy investigations going on, which is good because I am interested in finding out about secretive collusion with inimical governments, whether it's Obama doing secret deals with Iran or the possibility of Trump colluding with Russia.
So, I'm glad Jason brought up Loretta Lynch, because if we're going to say that that is the desired outcome, she recused herself from an ongoing investigation. So if that is the standard, and let's be very clear that Loretta Lynch was not part of a transition team, was an appointee from back in the day with Bill Clinton. Yes, had a meeting that appeared sloppy. Appearance is terrible. Him taptoeing, dropping down in the dead of night.
Schiff supported her.
And I guess what I'm telling you is she recused herself. So I'm eager to see him. I'm eager to see him not only recuse himself from this investigation, I would like to see him step aside as the Intel Committee chair.
I'm
telling you what I want now. I'm glad you brought up the investigation.
It's going to be irrelevant. If they can't get together, The House is going to be irrelevant, and it wouldn't be the first time, honestly, but they are going to be irrelevant, and the Senate could take over. You could have an independent investigation, which I believe also Republicans don't want, because those things tend to grow and grow and grow. And I think I don't think the White House would want it. I don't think Republicans would want it. But they could be backing into that right now.
We got to take a quick break. Up next, the new tone from the White House after failing to get Obamacare in place, a new insight on what is expected to be Trump's team's next fight, tax reform.